Arnold's sighting amazed many people, but none more than publisher Ray Palmer.
Kenneth Arnold fits into it. This is his 30th anniversary. And strangely enough, it's my 33rd, because I knew about flying saucers 3 years before Kenneth Arnold made his first sighting.
In the middle 40s, a man called William Shaver had written to Palmer about his alleged visit to a subterranean culture, peopled by beings he referred to as Deros and Teros. What he wrote was to create another legend of UFO mythology.
Briefly, it was the story of a radioactive flare from the sun around 12,000 years ago, which virtually wiped out life on Earth. And the survivors fled into space in spaceships, while the persons left behind, whom he called abandoned Dero, went into the cavern world and set up a civilization there, which from that time on became contaminated because the atmosphere had to be drawn from the surface and so on in the water. So they gradually degenerated into what he called Deros. D meaning detrimental or destructive, and Ro being a shortening of robot or robotic. In other words, he felt that these people were mentally controlled by robotic Dero influences. In other words, the radioactivity in their brain made them insane. But they had at their access the wonderful machines left by this civilization which fled the Earth, which had been taken down into the caves, and among them was a craft they called a Rolat. Ro again for robotically controlled, instrumentally controlled, and so on. And in the caves, they used these things, which were discs about 30 feet in diameter, to go through tunnels and the tortuous caves underneath the ground for hundreds of miles, even from continent to continent. And they were controlled automatically, so they did not touch the floor, the ceiling, or the walls. And therefore, they had this flipping motion, and they went through caves where they had a right-angle turn. They traveled around 1,200 miles an hour. When Shaver heard about Kenneth Arnold's sighting, he wrote me very triumphantly and said, "You see, these Rolats do come out of the caves."